Hello, I'm Alex from IGN and I'm joined by Daniel.
Hello.
And obviously 2013 was a year that was really dominated by the next generation consoles. Now PlayStation 4 sold tremendously well.
It did alright.
Xbox One also sold really well, and well, Wii U, let's not really talk about. But there's one console that, well, you and I feel that's really been overlooked.
I don't think we should forget about the little console, little handheld that could, which is the 3DS.
Yeah, and now
which has had a pretty fantastic year. It's had some amazing games. Some amazing games came out at the back of last year.
Yeah.
But I think this is really a console that you should not overlook this Christmas.
Yeah. Well, obviously it's been the year of Luigi, but really it's been the year of the 3DS for me, because I guess it all kicked off at the beginning of the year when Monster Hunter 3 came out. Now Monster Hunter has always been a massive game in Japan, and it's had its following over here in Europe and in the States, but I think when it hit the 3DS, that was the first time that certainly you and I kind of got into it. I played a fair bit with Kezra, who's our aficionado when it comes to Monster Hunter, but it's one of those games that I guess the more you play it really does keep giving, and there are levels of depth that it's scary actually.
Yeah, and it also came out on the Wii U simultaneously, but I know a lot of people who just really played it on 3DS, and we gave it an 8.8.
Yeah.
But then going into the next month, I think the following month, Luigi's Mansion 2 or Dark Moon came out, which I played a lot because it combined my two favourite things, which are haunted houses and hoovering.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for years for that Venn diagram to result in a game, and it finally did with Luigi's Mansion.
Perfect.
But it's a game that really used the 3DS technology, really has that sense of depth when you're walking down corridors and things are falling down around Luigi, and it was the first game in the year of Luigi, which has become a little bit of a running joke on the internet.
What do you mean?
Well, I think that's how people regard Luigi. People love him, but he's the little brother you take
he's not
the mick out of. Well, no, but Luigi's Mansion is pretty fantastic.
It is,
I think it's better
great.
than the original. Like, I think people have kind of nostalgic memories about the GameCube game, but I think this is a much better game.
Yeah. And the thing about the 3DS, I think, is that it's the polar opposite of the Wii U in that it's got an abundance of games. Like, if you look at the beginning of the year, like, you know, 2 games are coming out every month almost. So, like in April we had Fire Emblem and we also had Lego City. You know, both good games.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, moving further on down the line, obviously, you know, more recently we've had Zelda. We'll talk about Zelda a little bit more, which is one of my favourite games of the year. But Mario and Luigi Dream Team, which I think you reviewed.
I reviewed it for the site. I don't think it's as good as some of the older Mario RPGs that were on GBA and DS, like Partners in Time and Inside Bowser's Story. But it's really good. It's kind of that really weird, surreal kind of Mario RPG tone to it.
Yeah.
That's unique to that series.
Yeah.
But if you, again, I think it represents diversity of experience.
Yeah.
But if you want a platform, you can get that. If you want a racing game, if you want a puzzle game, if you want like that kind of advanced war experience, you can get that with Fire Emblem. And this is that kind of RPG experience, but with its own kind of unique, surreal twist on it.
Yeah.
And again, just more variety, and I think that's what this console has.
Yes.
It's got that kind of, you know, really diverse range of games.
Yeah. And I think also, you know, some of the kind of classic franchises really kind of broke out into a bigger audience, like Animal Crossing, which, you know, previous Animal Crossings, you know, I don't really know that many people that play it, again, apart from the core Nintendo audience, but we had everyone around the office at lunchtimes playing Animal Crossing.
Well, it kind of like this weird thing, it kind of converted people in the office that were kind of very indifferent to the series in general. One, they haven't heard of it, or two, once they knew a little bit about it, we were kind of like, kind of apathy, you see what I saw in the face. And one of our colleagues, Tom, was a great example of this. It's like, why do I want to play that? Yeah. And he kind of becomes slowly quite addicted to it.
All he ever did for weeks on end was play Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
And
really wanted that space suit.
Well, yeah, exactly. But then, you know, not only Animal Crossing, but also Pokemon came back with X and Y. Now, a similar thing. I've never really played a Pokemon game in the past, but it was the first time I thought, you know what, that looks pretty good, goddamn good.
We always took it into the three dimensions. And the thing with Pokemon though, it's still largely the same game.
Of course, yeah.
But that same core element is still as compelling as ever. Yeah. It's about taking those very innocent creatures on a journey, looking after them, becoming friends with them, and then taking them into battle and seeing them grow and mature as you do as well as their protector. And that is still as compelling as ever. And I think it's one of the most, you know, taking it into 3 dimensions really worked. Yeah. And it's a real shot in the arm for the series.
Yeah. Well, I guess, you know, obviously 2013 also saw the last we think, ever outing for Professor Layton. And obviously you and I were speaking earlier, I think that's a very positive thing to do, is go out on a high, because the game itself is very, very strong. But I think the last couple of Layton games have been a little bit kind of by the numbers, but this one felt strong. Good end to hopefully the Layton legacy. Will we see him back? I don't know. I hope not, because I think, only because I like the way that it's finished.
But again, a different experience, a puzzle game, puzzle story-led game. And then I think probably one of our favourite games of the year, which is Zelda.
Yeah,
we're both big Zelda fans, but...
Well, I think if you look at the kind of big games that have come out this year, obviously The Last of Us, GTA 5, fantastic games, but I really wasn't expecting to like A Link Between Worlds as much as I did. And when I say it's up there with Ocarina of Time, I genuinely believe it's one of the best Zelda games out there. I know there's been criticism.
I didn't know you felt that strongly about it.
The more I kind of think about it, it uses the platform really, really well. The switching between 2D and 3D just adds a completely, pardon the pun, new dimension to the game, and it's just very, very smart. Like, it's shaken up the way that you obviously use the weapons. You don't go through the same predictable, I guess, Zelda tropes that we've seen in the past. There is, you've still got the hookshot, you've still got a lot of things that you're familiar with, but you acquire them in different ways, and it's much more open from the beginning, and you can tackle the game almost in any way. Obviously there is a storyline that you follow, but how you kind of get to that point is kind of up to you. So you've got like 3 temples that you can tackle at any time, and the way that you'll play it will be different from me. And that is massive for a Zelda game, to try something that different. And overall, I literally was glued right from the beginning right to the end. And I'm not sure if it's my game of the year, but it's definitely up there.
I can't think of that's such a strong year of games. Also, building on the year before, you had Mario Kart 7, which I played to death, and Super Mario 3D Land, which again I played to death. Those are two of my favourite games of 2012. That's a really unbelievably strong catalogue of games. And what I do, I kind of download them digitally, so I can take 3DS wherever I go, and I've got all the games on it, which makes it just so much better and more accessible. Cool. But also next year, you've got more stuff coming out at the beginning of next year. You've got Mario Golf, you've got the new Yoshi game, the new Kirby game. So there's still stuff coming out for it, and I think the sales of the 3DS have shown that games make a platform.
Well, it definitely feels like it's a handheld that's reached maturity. It's really hitting its stride. And
so I read this crazy stat that obviously this won't go on for next month because new generation of consoles have come out, but for 6 consecutive months in the US, it was the best-selling piece of hardware.
Which is insane.
Which is kind of the polar opposite to the Wii U's kind of phase. But I think it shows Nintendo games are still, the quality of them is as high as ever. They're still doing new things, even with the same characters, they're doing new things. I think that's something that people always forget. They see new Mario game, new Zelda game, and the character remains the same, but what they're doing with it changes. It's almost like the recognisability of that character offsets the innovation. And yes, the new innovation could be a new strange character, like, I don't know, when Kirby came out, Epic Yarn came out, that could have been an entirely new yarn-based character. They thought, you know what, let's do something new, but let's make it a Kirby game because Kirby is still recognisable. And I think that's what Nintendo do really well. They smuggle in innovation under a recognisable face. And I think, price point's really good for the 3DS. 2DS, contrary to a lot of people, I think it's a really cool product.
It's a smart
especially
way of
for the
getting
audience it's targeted at. And I think all that sort of stuff, I think, it makes it kind of the perfect console for this Christmas, even though next gen's come out. The range of games, the depth of the library, really kind of makes it my pick, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. Definitely 2013 has been the year of the 3DS for me. And
not Luigi.
Not Luigi, unfortunately. And as much as I love the PlayStation 4 and Xbox Ones, they will have their year. That will come. But for now, it's all about the 3DS.